Damn, mommy.
I just wanna.
Each day, approximately 300,000 individual videos are uploaded to YouTube. That's about 80,000 total hours and 24 total terabytes of data shoveled into the infamous algorithm every single day. Amongst this bountiful hoard of content lies the occasional gem, the diamond in the rough. And if one bad video counts as one jewel, then girl-defined is an absolute gold mine. But what is girl-defined, you so innocently ask? And well, it pains me that I'm about to break that cozy bubble of ignorance to inform you of the worst YouTube channel I have ever laid eyes on. Okay, that actually may be a lie. I've seen a lot of bad YouTube channels, but that's not relevant to this video, okay? Shut up! According to their channel description, Girl Defined is defined as just two sisters striving to be girl-defined girls in a culture-defined world. Charming. Just a fancy way of saying they're very religious and they like discussing their very religious views to an audience of way too many people. That's why I'm gonna go ahead and preface this video with the fact that I'm not intending to bash Christianity or religion or anything like that. I'm not going after Christians, I'm only going after the specific narrative that these two airheads happen to expel. My views towards Christianity do not matter in the context of this video, nor will I be disclosing my religious affiliation here at all, because really it doesn't matter. It's Flat Earth Society, for anybody wondering. See, instead of primarily focusing on the biblical text itself, we're going to be focusing on the interpretation of it, specifically through the lenses of the Shining Twins. These are the two heads you'll shortly come to know and love, the talking head and the bobblehead. Let's take a look at the former first. Kristen Clark is a religious author from Texas, of course, who previously worked as a model, dedicating her body to Jesus before launching her very own blog with her sister Bethany. Bethany is a notable contributor to another blog called Lies Young Women Believe and a former pro-life counselor. Together they created Girl Defined in 2014. Now, Girl Defined as a channel is not new to the concept of controversy, producing such videos as The Modern Woman's Struggle with
Sexual Sin!
And Is It Okay to Be Obsessed with Guys? Which of course we all know the answer is no. I mean, obsessing over another human being? Fucking disgusting. Raunch in every sense of the word. Oh hey, speaking of raunch, let's check out the 4 lies our raunch culture is feeding us. This should be enlightening.
Hey girls, it's Kristen and Bethany here with Girl Defined Ministries, and in today's vlog, we want to share with you 4 lies our raunch culture is feeding you. So lie number 1 that our raunch culture is totally feeding all of us as girls and women is this: that embracing sensuality is liberating. We're taught as women, just through all of these different outlets, that to be sensual is actually very empowering for us as women. We're fed these messages and we think, yeah, I'm gonna embrace my sexual freedom. I'm gonna show some more skin. I'm gonna be as raunchy as I want. I'm gonna live life to the fullest and embrace every bit of sexuality and sensuality that I want. But sadly, this message is a huge lie. That is not God's best for women.
Right, because as a society, the last thing we want to do is encourage young girls to embrace their sexuality. I mean, are you kidding me? We don't want to raise a nation of skanks, do we? Nah, man, you gotta repress that shit. Push it all down. Get it through the minds of girls that they cannot and should not be feeling any desire whatsoever to embrace sensuality. Only then will our young girls flourish as beautiful, wonderful flowers, unsullied by the harshly lewd act of wearing a crop top. You show that belly button and God's gonna have a word with you. There's a special place in the afterlife for those who show off their shoulders.
Lie number 2. Having sex before marriage is a good thing. Teen girls and young women are no longer taught in mainstream to save sex for marriage. We're taught now to have safe sex, to be safe and cautious in the way we go about it. Having sex before marriage is not a good thing.
Safe sex? Well, what the fuck? The only way sex can be safe is when it's confined between a man and a woman that are married. That's the only kind of sex that's allowed. If you're trying to smash before we tie the knot, get out of my house.
At one time, I was told, oh, if you're dressing modestly, you really have no confidence. And in our culture, dressing modestly is really, we're told that it's a sign of shame, that, oh, you must not be confident. I mean, if you just go out anywhere, just to the grocery store, just walk down the street, anywhere, women these days, girls, are dressing in a way that is just extremely skimpy and leaves not much to the imagination, you know, just from the tightness, the shortness, everything seems to be getting smaller and smaller. I'm not sure how much more we can go. How much more can we take off?
So it's fine when we shame other women for wearing clothes we don't like, but if they ever try shaming us for our clothes, well, that's a different story. God, I want to die. You'll notice a pretty consistent trend with these videos, which is the implication that sexual expression among women is an inherently bad thing. I understand that most Christians like to incorporate modesty into their lifestyle, and obviously I don't have a problem with that. There's nothing wrong with wanting to dress a particular way to honor God. I mean, it's your set of principles, it's what you believe. Why should I be the one to judge what you do in your personal life? It only becomes a problem when you try to control what others are doing with their lives. And that's exactly what white and whiter are doing here. By frowning upon things like safe sex and denouncing sensuality in general, they're demonizing the very concept of sensuality. They're making it seem like it's something to be ashamed of, when really it's just a completely normal human thing to do and feel. You can't make young women, or just people in general, turn a blind eye to that side of themselves and then expect them to always turn out relatively normal. This is not how you go about teaching things like abstinence, even if you believe in that. When you preach the ridiculous and outdated idea that sex before marriage is evil, then it makes the Christian girls who have done that feel like they've committed a serious wrong, and that they're now beyond forgiveness and restoration in the eyes of God, which is so dumb and harmful to Christians and non-Christians alike. It encourages this flawed mentality that sex should be viewed as a shameful act when done outside the boundaries of marriage, when it really shouldn't even concern anyone besides you and your partner. You don't get to decide what's acceptable or liberating for another human being. You can only decide what's liberating for you, and if that's abstinence or whatever, then that's great for you. I don't care. But I hate this idea that you have to shove your principles down the throats of everyone else even when it doesn't concern you. They've taken this exact stance so many times, assuming the moral high ground and talking down to their target audience of young Christian teens. This is exemplified in their infamously contentious video, 6 Guys You Shouldn't Date, Court, or Marry, where they literally just list off the type of boyfriends you should avoid as a Christian girl.
I realized that there are certain types of guys that I do not want to date, court, or marry, and we want to tell you about these 6 guys that you shouldn't date, court, or marry. Okay, so guy number 1 that you shouldn't date, court, or marry is this: Mr. Talk. And guy number 2 is Mr. Anger, Mr. Struggle, Mr. Obsessed, Mr. Pressure. And guy number 6 is Mr. Unsaved.
Here are the qualities I tend to avoid when looking for a girlfriend: judgmental, condescending, close-minded, annoying. Sound like someone you know? Every point made in this video couldn't be more awful or contrived than the last. They're advising to avoid dating someone who isn't saved, which is probably the worst advice any Christian could give to another Christian. The last thing we want is a community of people who are so close-minded and ignorant they aren't willing to give someone from the other side the time of day. Most, if not all, of my Christian friends would be open to talking to a secularist or even dating one. A relationship between 2 people of varying spiritualities may be difficult, sure, but it's not impossible, and it definitely shouldn't be out of the question, in my opinion. I mean, who's to say that you can't learn a thing or two from being around someone with differing views? It helps to expand your outlook on this crazy, complicated, fucking stupid world we live in.
Now, we all have our struggles in life, right? But we're talking about here with Mr. Struggle is a guy who's struggling with big things, and he always says, I'm trying, I'll do better next time, I promise I'm going to overcome this sin, I promise I'm going to get better in this area. But as his track record continues, he never actually overcomes those struggles. If he's saying, I'm struggling, but I'm going to get over it, can you just help me, you need to help me, that is not a good setup. This guy, if he's serious about overcoming a sin, he's going to make the steps and take the steps to go find an older, godlier man in his church who can hold him accountable and really get serious about helping him overcome his struggles. So we caution you, be very careful with the guy who is always struggling but never overcoming them.
They talk about how you should abandon guys who have been hurt in the past, which is less productive to me than just helping them get through whatever problem problems they're facing? I mean, if you truly love someone, you shouldn't let their minor character flaws deter a healthy and functioning relationship. These girls are encouraging monumentally high standards for finding a partner. How is that helpful to any teenager on the planet? I'm sure it's clear to you at this point that although Kristen and her sidekick try to portray themselves as shining examples of good Christian women trying to exonerate God, their intentions often fall flat. By misinterpreting much of what the Bible implies, they encourage archaic ways of thinking, which alone can be immensely dangerous to the ever-developing and impressionable teenage brain. So would it really come as a shock to you that they're also pretty opinionated on the gays? Yeah, I don't think so. See, Girl Defined is not just a YouTube channel. In fact, they started with their own blog, which they still to this day post numerous articles a week, usually pertaining to modesty, relationships, marriage, the type of shit you'd come to expect from these two philosophers. But in years prior, Kristen especially has really enjoyed writing about her views towards gay people. Around the end of March, a YouTuber by the name of Rachel Oates made a video reading several blog posts where Kristen goes on in quite a bit of detail, documenting her take on the sinful nature of homosexual marriage. Truly terrifying, really. I mean, who can blame her? But for some reason, after this video went up, the articles went missing. I have no idea why they'd be taken down. I mean, what's so controversial here? Your article is only called The Gay Pride Movement and Their Sneaky Agenda. I mean, shouldn't the public have a right to know what their sneaky agenda is? The sneaky homosexuals are at it again. They're a crafty bunch. In the few snippets I've gathered, courtesy of Rachel's video, she goes on to say exactly what you would expect from this kind of thing. That the homosexual movement, as she calls it, is an endangerment to the traditional way of life and God's image for marriage alike. She seems to view gay marriage as not only wrong and immoral, but also evil and threatening, as evident by this tweet that I guess they forgot to delete when her video came out. It really does take me a minute to take a step back and realize this is something some people actually believe. They haven't made any outrageous claims on gay people in about a year or two, but I've searched high and low for any shred of proof that could even allude to them changing their minds on the subject, and nothing. They nuked all their blog posts about it, but that's literally all I can find. And that alone is not evidence enough to say that they've changed their way of thinking. I mean, going off the timeline of events here, it actually seems like they only got rid of their articles to cover themselves, pretend like they've never even written about gay people in an effort to push their brand even further now that they have more of an audience. Too bad they're too stupid to bother deleting any tweets though. Oh my god, just look at these links. Responding to the homosexual movement. You. Out of all the creators I've covered in this series, I'm convinced Girl Defined is the utmost worst of the bunch. Apart from being hypocritical, manipulative scum with a really twisted view on how the world works, they don't do any justice to Christianity as a whole. I'm pretty sure most Christians would agree these two girls do a very poor job at portraying religion in a good light, and that by spewing anti-gay, anti-sex rhetoric, all they're doing is harming the movement they're supposedly fighting for. It's royally f***ed to me that these two cretins have the audacity to dictate how others spend their time, buying into the false logic that if someone's lifestyle isn't defined by your set of morals, then they aren't living a worthy life. That's the rhetoric they seem to peddle, at least, and the fact that they have such a wide audience of young teens who listen to them is extremely worrying. I hope some of these people realize in due time that A, being gay isn't bad, B, embracing your sexuality isn't bad, and C, engaging with other people who aren't exactly like you isn't bad. They demonize things that should be normal, and that is a huge problem. Since they seem to like quoting verses from the Bible, how about this one? Matthew 7:1-2. Do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged, and with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. Just food for thought. Who knows if anything can be done to stop them at this point? They seem to be doing just fine in the marketing department. But at least now you know more about Girl Defined and their sneaky agenda.
Keep on, keep on.